Hello and welcome to our second video about blood cells. So we've already had a video and a lesson on the red blood cells. So I know I'm just going to quickly review what we did last lesson. So we studied blood and we learned that the composition of blood has 55% of the blood is plasma, that's the liquid part, and then the remaining 45% are blood cells. Now out of the blood cells, there's three types of blood cells. There's red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. 95% of the 45% of your blood cells are red blood cells. We've already had a video, you've already done 9-3, so you should be very familiar with red blood cells, their structure, their function. Today's video and lesson, we're going to focus on the other two types of blood cells, white blood cells and platelets. So they make up the 5% of the 45% of the cells that are in your blood. And then just to review, so like I said, there's that picture of your blood, so that we've got the plasma. We've already talked about the red blood cells, the biconcave shape with no nucleus. And today we're going to learn about the white blood cells. You see that pointing there, and platelets. Okay, and just one other thing to show you from last lesson is I had this diagram. We're going to be talking about the bone marrow again today. So again, that's the bone marrow. The marrow is the inside part of the bone. The bone marrow, that's where the red blood cells were made. And as we go through today's lesson, you're going to learn that that's where the white blood cells and the platelets are also made. Okay, so just to keep that visual in mind, because I didn't put that picture in again because you had it in the last lesson. Okay, so we already learned about the red blood cells. You've already completed 9-3. So today we're going to look at the white blood cells and the platelets. Okay, so just like red blood cells, the fancy name for red blood cells is erythrocytes. The fancy name for white blood cells is leukocytes. The main job of the white blood cells is to fight infections. So we're just going to talk about it briefly, but you could have probably a whole course on white blood cells and infection and immunity. We are going to have a unit later on about immunity, so we're going to talk about white blood cells again when we talk about the immune system. Okay, so their main job is to fight infections. So this is the interesting part. Even though they're the white blood cells are part of your blood, which is carried through your vessels in your circulatory system, the white blood cells actually spend most of their time outside of the circulatory system. So the red blood cells don't do that. The white blood cells leave your circulatory system. They go into the interstitial fluid, inter-between, and the lymphatic system. I'll talk about those in more detail when we do our immunity unit. They do have a nucleus. Remember, the red blood cells were a biconcave disc. They don't have a nucleus, but the white blood cells do. And unlike the red blood cells, there's only one type of red blood cell. There's 5 different types of white blood cells. So the notes today are just very general. I'm just going to introduce you to the general 5 types. And then when you do your assignment will go through the 5 types in more detail. They'll talk about each one, their functions and their special duties that they have. So the notes today are just a brief introduction, but the assignment does a really good job of filling in the details. Okay, so I just said that there's 5 types of white blood cells. So you can see there's 3 on this slide, 2 on the other. 3 plus 2 is 5. 3 out of the 5 are something called granular, and the other 2 are agranular. Remember, in science, the prefix A means not. Sexual, asexual. Asexual means not sexual. So granular means, look at the diagram, the backgrounds are grainy. They are granular, and then agranular means they're not granular. So look at the background, there's no like little dots in them. So I think the visuals show that. So 3 of them are granular, look at the dotted background in each one, and 2 of them are agranular. Then, out of the granular types, those are made in the bone marrow, which I just talked about. I'll show you that picture. 3 of them, first one is called the neutrophil. That's a neutrophil. That's something called eosinophil, and then basophil. That's all I'm going to say about it. When you do your assignment today, there's going to be a little paragraph on each one. They'll talk about their functions. They'll describe the shape of the nucleus. You're going to have to read about it, and you're going to have a chance to draw each of the 5 white blood cell types on your own. So I'm just going to mention the names. Neutrophil, basophil, eosinophil are the 3 granular white blood cells, and I'll let your assignment fill in the rest. And then the other 2, they are not granular. They are made in the lymph tissue, and those are called, this is the lymphocyte and the monocyte. So the monocyte is quite large, the lymphocyte is quite a bit smaller. And again, your assignment talks about that in more detail, what they actually do, and you'll be drawing those. So that's all I'm going to say about the white blood cells. Your assignment, again, like I said, fills in the rest. This slide just reviews what I said. You've got 5 types of white blood cells, and then 2 of them are agranular, 3 of them are granular, eosinophil, basophil, neutrophil, monocyte, lymphocyte, just talked about them. Now at the bottom, there's something in these T cells, B cells, NK cells. We will talk about that in our immunity unit. Okay, oh, here's a fun slide. I hope you're watching this first thing in the morning. We're going to talk about pus. Okay, I'm sure you've all had a cut or an infection at some point. You've seen kind of this white stuff oozing out of it, and that's pus. You're like, ooh, that's gross, but that's actually good. That's a good sign that shows that your body has been fighting an infection. So let's talk about this. White blood cells, like we said, their job is to fight off infections. So basically, your white blood cells circulate your body when they're looking for things that, I'll use the word invaders. So something foreign or something that they think might make you sick. So they go around searching for these invaders. And then once they detect some kind of invader in your body, it's kind of like a blob. I was going to say the blob. That's an old movie reference. But they surround it. So they find something and then they surround it. And then when they surround it, they release an enzyme. Oh, we just had a unit about enzymes. You should know about enzymes. They release an enzyme to destroy and kill that invader so it doesn't stay in your body, so it doesn't make you sick. So they surround it and then they destroy it with an enzyme, but they destroy themselves in the process. Oh, sad. Look at the white blood cells sacrificing themselves so your body can stay healthy internally. So they surround it, they release the enzyme to get rid of the invader, but then they also get rid of themselves in the process. So the fragments of the remaining protein, oh, we learned about protein last time, protein from the white blood cell and the invader and pus. So pus is just remnants of a foreign invader that your white blood cell has attacked. So that's a good sign. So if you have pus, that means your white blood cells did a good job. They killed off whatever foreign invader was in your body trying to harm you or make you sick. Okay, so think about that the next time you are cut. And then our third and final type of blood cell is something called platelets. Again, the fancy word for platelets is something called thrombocytes. So we say that they're a blood cell, they're actually cell fragments. So they don't have a nucleus because they're just a fragment of a cell. And their main function is to form blood clots. We're learning about the blood, the components of blood today. We are going to learn, by the time you watch this video, you would already learn about the blood types, because I think we're doing this slightly out of order. So you would have already known about blood types before you hit this lesson. So it's going to form blood clots, and then they are produced in the bone marrow. We have already talked about the bone marrow a few times. Okay, so here's some chemistry in our biology class. So a blood clot is a three-step reaction. So it's a multi-step reaction. So the first step is something called prothrombin. I did say that your plasma does have proteins. I don't think I listed them specifically this year, but we did say that your plasma contains proteins. One of the proteins you find in your plasma is something called prothrombin. Prothrombin becomes thrombin. That makes sense. Prothrombin to thrombin. But that reaction is initiated by something called calcium. Where does the calcium come from? Well, it's found in your blood. You have calcium in your blood. So the calcium in your blood initiates the reaction so prothrombin can become thrombin. But it doesn't stop there. Then the thrombin made for reaction 1, look, it initiates the next reaction. So the thrombin that you made in the first step initiates a second reaction, and that second reaction is something called fibrinogen becoming fibrin. And then once you have fibrin, the fibrin that was formed in step 2, that's what's actually used to form your blood clots. So it's a 3-step chemical reaction happening in your body. I know we use this word every video, but it is fascinating. How does your body know so much biology and chemistry? Look how perfectly we are designed. Like, I say this every video. If we had a contest, design the perfect human. Oh, I think my person wouldn't last very long. I would never think to incorporate all these chemical and biological reactions. So the way we are interconnected and built is amazing. Okay, so back to blood clots. So here's a nice little visual of a blood clot. Okay, our fun fact of the day. Your inner body regularly springs little leaks of blood, but the blood quickly clots to plug the hole. If it didn't clot, your insides would just keep bleeding. Well, there you go. There's your nice fact in the morning. Okay, so that's all I'm going to say. So your assignment today is 7-2, the white blood cells. Like I said, it goes through the 5 types in more detail. You'll have your chance to draw each of the 5 types that we talked about. And what are our funny jokes today? Bacteria trying to avoid the immune system. So that's our white blood cell. These are antibodies. We'll talk about it in a future unit. Oh, we would have already talked about antibodies a bit with blood typings before you've seen this. So these bacteria, these are the 4 invaders in your body. Your white blood cells are attacking, trying to get rid of it. And this bacteria, oh, I'm hit, go on without me. Okay, maybe not funny, but literally what it is, it's like your white blood cells are like superheroes circulating throughout your body, just like on the lookout for anything that should be there, and then they attack it and get rid of it. Fascinating. Okay, I need to come up with a new word. And what's our other joke? The red circles are your red blood cells. Yeah, we learned that. The white circles are your white blood cells. Yeah, we just learned that today. Oh, the brown circles are donuts. We need to talk. Ha ha ha. Okay, so today you're working through 7-2. There's no assignment on platelets because, well, that one slide and the 2 slides, I guess, for platelets is pretty much all we'll talk about. But you should have gone through the red blood cell, white blood cell worksheets. You have a good understanding of those cell types. Okay, good luck in your assignment.